Hey coconuts, there is one question that went through my head while I was exploring today's content, right? Which is, are women still actually disadvantaged? I mean, we have been on this journey for a while, all the movement towards equality, and that includes all facets, right? Even in financials like pay, insurance, investments, and all that jazz. We have done quite a few episodes on women-centric topics, and I want to give a shout out to all the men in the house. If you think it's not for you, but it takes two hands to clap, and you should try to understand the other side, the other perspective. And today we're going to focus on women learning investments. Apparently, when women explore investments, based on our guest, she said that there is difference when women invest and when men invest. It is fundamentally different. And also the infamous pink wrapper, where service provider, kind of womanize everything and charge a premium for their service. Welcome to another Chills with TFC session. In this series, we hope to bring on interesting, relevant people to help us learn better from various perspectives. Life is not always about learning from people that you already agree with. Perspectives shape around the thinker. So in our pursuit of the life we love or managing our finances, well, our guest for today has been a champion for empowering women financially and is the founder of one of the largest women-centric personal finance website out there today. Okay, while she has went through the whole journey and is now doing something different, she brings on a lot of experience in trying to empower women from the very ground all the way up to become more financially savvy. So let me welcome Anna from the New Savvy.
The first question that I really want to dig out from you, right, is that are women still being discriminated?
I don't think women is discriminated. I think there's a few levels to it, right? The first is that I think women have always been overlooked. So if you look, I mean, it's not even in finance, in most things, even product designs, right? Because most of the people that are doing this or designing products, for example, are men. So for example, if you take a look at certain things at doors, for example, some doors are very heavy because it's designed by engineers who are men, male engineers. So they don't realize how difficult it is for women. So even small things like that are not being considered. In a lot of companies, for example, there is no room for breastfeeding moms because or mom who need to pump breast milk, right? Because you just don't think about it if you're not a mom. So things are slowly changing. So I don't think they're discriminated. I think it's a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, but things are slowly changing. But to say that we have reached the pinnacle of of equality or of women being the same as men, I don't think so.
Even when you first started the New Savvy, you feel like women was never like financially discriminated?
No, of
Like
course.
the
When
whole
I
gender
first
pay gap, those kind of things. Yeah.
No, when I first started, I was trying to raise money, trying to raise funding, right? And I spoke to a lot of investors, and I remember a few investors telling me, "Why do you want to start for women? This is career suicide, right? Because in the first place." No,
They really told you that?
well, in those, maybe not in those terms. It's 6 years ago, a bit hazy. But to them, it's like the people who are interested in finance are male, 50% of the population. You're already cutting out that 50%, and and women are just not interested, actually, the funny thing is, recently I just spoke to somebody about it, and he told me, 6 years ago or 5 years ago, when you spoke to me, I thought that this is a silly idea, right? Now I think it's a good idea. And he said, it's just like saying how you look at a problem, whether you see it as a non-existent problem or an opportunity, right? And I think financial institutions have improved. A lot of products are actually targeted at women, aimed at women, but I also feel that it shouldn't just be a wrapper for women, right? It shouldn't just be, oh, you're a woman, I put a pink or red color on it. It should be something that women actually identify with and need to use.
So what do you think have changed since you started all the way to now?
I think more.
Where I'm coming from is okay.
You're not a woman.
I don't know. Yeah. Wow, this one I have scared end my career also. Yeah. So I'm very conscious that some women still feel discriminated, and I recognize that. But I don't know if it's still a thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, because like we're having a lot of ladies in different sector, and all the kind of gender pay gap stuff. I don't know if it's still there. So stats is stats,
Yep.
experience is another thing. So I want to hear your perspective. Is there still this kind of disparate You know.
I think what you're saying is a few issues, right? Gender pay gap, I think there still is. You know, we can't change history in say 5 years, so there is still, right. But also as an employer, sometimes you need to take a step back and wonder, and really think why, right? So I'm not saying that it should be that way, but there are women who actually take, say some time off for childbirth. Then how do you compensate them, and how do you make sure that when they come back, do they actually? I mean, these are perpetual questions, right? If they come back 5 years later, is a company supposed to pay them the same as a man who remained and work these 5 years? You see, so all this there is. I think when it comes to pay gap, it's not about whether you're paid more or less. It's you're paid equal amount for equal work, right? So I think that is still fair. I think in terms of financial products, I will say that in the past, women is always an afterthought. It's always like, okay, I need the women, or even in advertisements, right? It's always like women in the kitchen, and women, peddling like products, right? But now I think it's improving. People make the mistake of thinking that men are the financial decision makers at home, but it's not true. Men may make the investment decisions, but actually women make 70% of the financial decisions. So if you think about it, who buys the stuff at home, right? Who sends the kid to school? Who pays for all these things? It's actually women. So why are we not focusing on educating women? And on top of it, to me, if you educate women and they become mothers, you're going to educate the future generations.
Okay.
What? You're scared of career suicide, is
very,
it?
very scared of career suicide, but yes. There's a someone told me this thing I thought was quite cute. It's a joke. So they say that men at home, they are the generals. Okay, women are the majors. You know why? Because men make the general decision, women make the major decision. So a lot of finances are really done by the ladies, right? But exactly like what you point out about the whole pink wrapper idea. These days I think we've definitely moved forward from the past of all these like discrimination and products not focused on women. Now it seems like maybe some of the products too focus on women. They even charge a premium, right? Which is the whole idea of the pink wrapper. What are your thoughts on some of this?
I think some products have to be catered for women. I think, when we spoke earlier, certain things like insurance, right? I mean, women live longer. I think there was a report recently that says that the average age of Singapore men is 82 and women was like 87 or something, right?
Yes.
So that's one. And then there are certain things that just afflict women and not men. So breast cancer, for example, even things like infertility in women. And I think these are things that it should be catered to women. It should be explained to women in a very simple and engaging way. But you should never talk down and, just slap a color just because you think it's the gender, right? And by the way, not every woman like pink, okay?
Yeah. By the way, pink used to be a man's color.
Oh, yeah, yes, right? For very long.
Yeah, for a very, very long time. It was the US pop culture that changed pink to become a women's color. And then blue became a man's color. It used to be the other way around.
Okay.
Yeah, so purple used to be a royal man's color. Only men could wear, it's a royalty kind of thing. So then long story, so we don't want to go there. Yeah, but do you feel like it is a messaging kind of switch that needs to happen? Or is it like product needs to be focused on ladies?
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think
because I also think men is simple understanding. Cannot be only speak to the women in simple terms, but the men must be very complicated.
No, but I think it goes back to the thing, right? Like research have shown consistently that men and women, when they invest and when they look for financial products, they look at it differently and they view at it differently. So I mean, I always say this: if you ask a group of men, right? What do you want, in this year, or what are you looking for in your investment products, right? And how many percent? And they will say 20%. Most men will agree with that, right? When you ask a woman, the answer is, when you ask them why do you invest, you always say, I want to provide for my parents, I want to take care of my children or pay for their university education. So there's always almost an emotional attachment or meaning to it. Whereas I think for men, it's almost a returns kind of view, you see. So, and I think that is one of the biggest difference. The second difference is, I think women, I think it's a lot. Okay, this is a very long
I know.
explanation, but I guess one is stereotypes, right? And gender stereotypes. So when you're young, especially for people around my generation, you see, I mean, around my
You
generation,
mean like millennials, huh?
I'm the old millennials. Millennials 20 years, I'm the old one. Yeah.
Part of the community. Yes, yes.
Yeah, but no, I think it's, I think when we were young, you were told you're not good for science, you're not good in maths, leave the finances to the man. In fact, even when I was growing up, right, they always joke. I don't know whether it's a joke, it's like a half joke where you say, just go to university to find a husband, right? Your job is to make sure you go to university, find a good husband, and that's it. So when you grow up like that, it's kind of ingrained in you. Even as my peers, we work hard, we earn more money, and we are saving more money than the generations before us. I think there is still this fear and stigma and of taking care of our own money, of investing our own money. And I think earlier also there's this whole stigma of, if I talk too much about money, might seem mercenary, or I might seem very
Really?
yeah. I think in the past, yes, maybe not now, but I mean, when I first started, there's so much. I mean, my own friends were saying like, "What are you doing?" Yeah.
So how have you observed that narrative shift? Like, what are women concerned about now in the personal finance space?
I think the conversation have changed a lot. So 6 years ago, when we were pushing it, it was always like women should take care of their own money. You're earning more money, it's good, but what are you doing with your money, right? You need to make your money work harder for you. You cannot just save. And women are great savers. Most women are great savers. I think now it has become like, hey, I know I need to take charge of my finances. How do I do it? What can I do, right? And what are some of the methods that I can invest my money in? I think the pandemic actually has overall, not only women, but overall, and especially I noticed this in the younger generation, have made people more conscious about their money, about their spending and their savings. It has brought a lot of, I guess, financial influencers, whether it's TikTok, Instagram. Why are you laughing?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say about TikTok influencers.
Yeah, me too. But I guess I think whether or not
But we are cutting this for TikTok, by the way. Just so yes.
yeah, I mean, whether or not they're the right type or the right advice is different, right? But I think there is generally there's a higher interest in personal finance, and to me that's very comforting. Yeah.
So how do you then sieve out what is good information and what is
I
not
make a
so
lot of
good
mistakes.
information?
Yeah, I've done this for about 15 years, so I made a lot of mistakes. I think for me personally, I have gone through. I can't say I've gone through everything because I've never tried like forex trading, for example, or even options, right? But I personally believe education is key. You need to educate yourself, read as much, understand as much. I think the truth is most people, when you ask them and they want quick fixes. They don't want to say, when people ask, okay, what's your advice? And you say, okay, educate yourself, learn what you're most comfortable with. So let's say equities, right? Learn the sector, learn what the ratios mean, learn what, where are the sales drivers and all that. What they want to know actually is, just tell me a stock to buy, which I don't think is right, because I always say that for somebody like me, I'm very high risk. I love volatile stuff. I don't care. A stock can fall. Like recently, one of my stocks fell 25%, and I don't flinch, right? But because I've been doing this for so many years, I've been doing it for 15 years. Whereas if I tell you to do that, and you lose 25% in a day, you may not be able to sleep. So I think everybody is different. I always think that investing is an exercise in knowing yourself. Yeah.
So what are some rule of thumbs when consuming information? Because I get what you're saying. Everybody is unique. Everybody has their own thing. So you want to go and learn, read as much as you can and all that. So I get it. But in today's world, it's a different world compared to the past, right? In the past, there's not as much information. Today, it's like, you search tons of things out there, right? So how do you decipher what is good, knowledge and what is maybe a little bit more wonky?
I think first, everyone has to understand that, there's no quick fixes, okay? Yes, some people may have gotten rich from the Wall Street bets. But this is like once in a lifetime, it's a fluke, right? I think there is always, to me, okay, personally, I believe in value investing. I believe in investing in companies that I personally believe in. So for example, like Modena, right? I always thought that it will go up, the stock will go up because of the COVID. But I don't have the conviction to invest in it because I just don't know anything about biotech. I really don't, and for somebody like me, I feel that the pain of loss is greater than making more money. So I think some rule of thumb is there are certain principles that have withstood the true test of time. To me, it's value investing is one of them. I don't personally, I don't dabble things that I'm not comfortable with, that I don't have an advantage in. So, for example, I don't do options, I don't do forex, just because I personally don't have an advantage in it. I'm just not smart enough. Yeah.
Okay. So what are some other?
How about you? What are your investing?
I mean, mostly equities.
Yeah.
I'm not in bonds because I don't understand. Of course, now I know a
Yeah.
little bit more about it, but still
You're
not.
too young to have bonds.
Yeah, it's not really in my space, and I'm not concerned about volatility as much. But okay, I just want to put it out there. Not concerned about volatility does not make it anyhow volatile. Right? So it's a world of difference, right? Because when someone say they're not concerned about volatility, there's an underlying tonality that they understand what they're buying.
Yeah.
So that's why they're not concerned about short-term volatility. They're perfectly okay to ride it. But in general, too volatile is not great also, lah. Right?
I
That's
think
kind
what you're saying is you're trying to make a distinction between volatility and risk, right? So
I think in the space there's a pegging,
Yeah.
right? More volatile means risky because the underlying belief is consistent returns,
yeah.
right? So on the goal of consistent returns, all strategies, the main risk is volatility, right? So that one is very long.
That's another discussion.
Yeah, that's a whole
Another
other
episode.
discussion. Yes. But I
Please
think,
tune in for season 3.
yeah. Yes. But I think I get what you're saying about
Yeah.
value investing and finding the companies that you like. That's the kind of core.
I think it's not only you like, but it's company that you are familiar with. So some of my friend, my friend who is a scientist, she's a female scientist. She invested into Modena because she used to work with she used to work there and with the Modena boss, right? So she totally understands the business, and she believes in it, you see. But for me, I may believe in it, but I really have no idea on it. For most Singaporeans, they like REITs which I personally don't invest in, but I think it's not a bad investment because you can see the shopping malls. So for example, CapitaLand, you can actually see the shopping malls, right? You can have a gauge and feel for it. Yeah, and so I really think it's very important to have a distinct advantage in everything you do, right? Whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's investments, you need to understand what is your distinct advantage. And if you can't find that out, then it's very difficult to be successful to me. How come become life lessons?
Well, give me a little bit more context. What do you think is your distinct advantage?
I think for me personally will be the US stocks because I've been looking at it for many years. And I focus a lot on technology stocks. Well, first, I'm a user. I am very familiar with the fintech stocks because I actually started the Singapore Fintech Association. I have a lot of friends. I understand how the businesses are run. So I look at technology stocks a lot. For example, Facebook, I'm a user. Facebook, Instagram, I'm a user. I'm an advertiser. I understand how they make money. I understand, user growth and all the metrics that they use. So that is something that I look at. The other stocks, for example, that I have for some years is Shopify. As a small business, I wanted to start an e-commerce store, right? And I used Shopify because it was so easy to start. Anyone can actually start a e-commerce store now, right? Whatever you use as a back end. But I was thinking, wow, this platform is going to change the world. And it's going to change everybody's lives, right? Like for today, if you don't want to run a podcast, you can sell your merchandise on Shopify. Yeah, so I thought that is a product that is worth changing, a product that has good revenue, and it's a subscription business. It doesn't take there is skill, and the skill is not done. The skill is done exponentially. Basically, I don't need to keep selling one product. I can sell 10 products even without me selling. Yeah. So I like businesses like that. So to me, those are some of the filters that I look for when I invest.
Okay, yeah, but just want to caveat that this is not
Oh, yeah,
recommendation.
it's not a financial
and
advice.
It's not financial advice.
Yeah.
So yes, please do your own homework, and yeah, if you want to learn more, we have another podcast that focuses on it. Well, check out the Stock Geek out. Okay, but I'm sure many ladies come to you, right, to just kind of ask you about like how do you get started, in investments. And you cannot be telling them, like, just pick some of these stocks, right? Because as you've pointed out, you got to know what you're good at. You got to know who you are, what is your palette, right? What you're going for, right? So what would be your framework for these ladies?
You mean like if they want to get started? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so the first one, not trying to plug the New Savvy, but we actually have a framework.
You should
So
plug, man. You're really here, right? I really plug you in front here. It's okay, plug.
no,
yes.
but I think one of the first things that we did in the New Savvy was we actually have a course for beginners. So we made it so easy for people to learn. You don't need to find that information. We actually package it. But I always encourage everyone to start with this questionnaire that we did, which is 10 questions to ask yourself. So first is, what is your risk objective? What are you looking for? Why are you investing? Things like that. And it's very, very important to know because, again, if you talk about risk tolerance, right? Like, I don't know what's yours. Mine is really high, but I'm also looking for maximum growth. And that's because I'm single, I'm not married, I don't have kids, I don't have family to provide for, So even if I lose the money, I won't really feel the pinch, right? I mean, it will be painful, but it's not. Yeah. Whereas for a lady, for example, who's around my age, who, most of my friends have 2 kids or, married, they may not be able to take that kind of volatility or risk. So I think the first thing I will do is to actually write the questionnaire and to do the questionnaire, the new service, 10 questions, and to really understand yourself that. And when you invest, the other thing is to actually find out, I think, a basket of stocks that you are comfortable with, and to start small. The worry people have is always like, I want to start, and then I'm very scared to lose all this money. But the truth is, things have changed. You can buy fractional. You can do fractional investments now. Okay, when I first started, it was a lot of money. If I want to buy a $3 stock, I have to have $3,000. And as a 21-year-old, that's a lot of money, right? I think I was only paid $600 for an internship. Yeah.
Gone are the days, huh?
Yeah, I know. But now you can buy like fractional stocks, right? If you like Hai Di Lao, okay, Hai Di Lao is again, not an advice, but no, but a lot of people like Hai Di Lao, right? And if you think that that's a good business, whether it's the great service, whether it's food, whether it's the SOP, then you can buy one stock of Hai Di Lao. And I think the best way is to start small, dip your toes into it, and find out. Anyway, there's no perfect investment. You will always make money, but you'll also always lose money. You'll always make mistakes. Yeah. So make the small mistakes.
So what are considered small mistakes?
Okay. So to make money, right? It's not 100% wins, right? It's big wins, small wins, and small losses. I think that's very important. So to me, it's very important not to have a very clear framework again of what you're looking for. I have mine, but I don't think it's suitable for everyone again.
But you can share with us.
Can.
Because it gives us context, right? Of how you see it and all that. Yeah.
I think mine again, like it's a few things, right? And this is borrowing from a lot of the value investing. I believe in transformational businesses. So it must be a business that change people, right? Number 2, it has to have a unique selling point, or what they call the moat, right? Whether it's like Amazon, whether it's faster, better service, whatever it is. And then it has to be, I think to me, it has to have increasing profits. And if it's not an increasing profit, then where is the returns of equity in? It has to be, I like platform businesses, so I don't like, okay, I won't say I don't like, but I prefer platform businesses where the cost of acquiring customer has always it has to always go down. I cannot just, it's like, okay, if I want to acquire, cost of acquisition is $10. Over the years, it cannot keep increasing, or it cannot remain at $10. You have to be efficient enough to decrease the cost of acquisition. Yeah. I mean, these are some of the things I look, we can go on, but yeah.
Yeah. But these are very techy ideas, right? You must be in the startup space. You must be, you must know all these kind of stuff. MAU, churn rate, the
I think-
GMV, those are super technical, right? And I get it. I mean, you said that this is your advantage, right? And for people that are in the space, they will understand this.
Okay, I think the other thing will also be things like, do you believe in the business? Do you the founder must be there. I mean, if you want the quick and dirty, other criteria will be like, I like businesses that the founders are there, and and they must hold a chunk of the company, because as a founder myself, when your life's work is tied to it, and when your net worth is tied to it, you're going to make the company work. As opposed to, say, I think if I'm a hired CEO, I'm not saying that a hired CEO will not do a good job, but I like founder-led businesses a lot. Because it's very mission-driven, right? It's very, I mean, you look at Zuckerberg, you look at Elon Musk, they're very mission-driven. Yeah. Again, I mean, of course, there are a lot of great companies that are not founder driven, but
Because too old already, founder move on already.
too old, make too much money.
Yeah, at some point, like you cannot have Disney guys still around, right? Cannot have Coke guys still around. So
Yeah.
so some companies, which
No,
is why
I like Disney, for example.
which is why at some point in time transition becomes a problem, right? Who do you pass to the next baton and all that, right? And we can go on and on about all of that, but
Also, I think there are certain things like, I mean, to me, are red flags, right? So, for example, when if you IPO, or after a while, then the people inside the company are selling their shares, so you wonder why, right? So things like that.
when I hear what you say, all this stuff, it's very bottom up, right? So it's a bottom up investment
Yep.
strategy. You pick your own stocks, and all this is a lot of work. A lot of work to try to understand the sector, form your framework of how do you evaluate your companies, your 5-pointers, 10-pointers, what have you, right? But these days, the narrative out there is, index funds, go for broadly diversified, low cost, and what is your take on this?
I agree with that. I think that for somebody like me who love it, I read finance, I do this like every day for 1-2 hours. I think it's easier for us to have it. I will say that I still hold index funds. Most of my CPF money is actually in Endow Us in CPF, Endow CPF, right? And I like it because you know what? I don't need to think, right? It's just there. It has been consistently proven to achieve a certain returns. Will it doesn't have a concentration risk also. So yeah, I think I would advise people to start with that too, especially if you don't really want to put in the work.
Yeah. Whatever we are saying is very technical. A lot of
Is
this,
it?
yeah, it's considered a lot of work. It's just, but one company, you try to read the whole sector, read down the multiple major players and all that is a lot.
No, that's why if you know, for example, if you're a sector, okay, I let's say if you're in real estate, you already know who the players are. So for example, if somebody
Yeah, that's
today,
the assumption, right? Because that's the assumption. But for a lot of people, they retail, they're just trying to like manage their finances a little bit better. All these work is a lot of groundwork, right? To try to pick up and all that.
yeah, which is why I think what you said is good, like low cost index funds. If you really don't have the time and don't think that you have the advantage of picking, then I think buying a broad based index fund, low cost, and making sure that you remain invested. I think what we forget to mention today is the time invested, right? I mean, I don't know about you. I don't try to time the market. I try to remain as invested as long as I can. Yeah.
Can you help me define a little bit what is called time the market?
So the amount of time you're invested into a stock. For example, when I was younger, I think I wanted to make money fast. So I used to trade like stocks. So very good example, right? I used to buy Amazon stock, make 20% and I sell. And then today, I think about it. If I had just hold on to that Amazon stock, you know how much money I would have made? It's like, and then I realized that actually, when you come to investing and you believe in long-term investing, I think the best way is to find these great businesses or find an index fund. And I don't time the market, and just hold it as long as you can. Because I think a lot of research has shown that the time you invest in it and the compounded returns actually make a lot more returns than your actual principal.
But that one very easier said than done, right? What changed in your psyche? Because you said that in the beginning you
I
you,
think
you were
age, yeah.
timing.
Older now, tired. Better one.
Yeah, very busy. Yeah, that's why I just buy and hold. Actually, it's I forget. I forget to follow up.
No, I think
Because that's a very real thing that people keep peddling out there, which I understand and I agree with it because data shows that the longer you are invested, the better it is. Okay, but how do you do it, right? Because 20%, 30%, or the dip down. How do you stay invested that way? Like in your psyche from that point in time when you first started that you will sell because you make 20% and to where you are today, being comfortable with this being invested idea, right? What changed?
well, first I think that I really think it's age, right? I mean, I think when you're young, you're very impatient and you're very youth is always lost on the young, right? So you always think that, hey, I'm so smart, I can beat the market. I think as you grow older, age and life humbles you, and you realize, actually, maybe it's not me. It's like if you invest in from '08 to now, you're going to make money, okay? And it may not be because I'm better or anyone is better than rising tide leaves all boats, right? So I think for me, it's knowing that just precisely because I cannot beat the professionals and I don't have a distinct advantage and insider knowledge, right? That the best way to do it is to believe in a good index fund, a good company, a good business, and just remain invested. And if there is a strong drop, I ask myself, have the fundamentals changed? Is it because the business changed? Is it because the founders changed? Is it because, the cost structure changed, right? Or is it because I don't believe in the business anymore? If it's not, then if I have extra money, I might just buy it, which really happened 2 weeks ago. So I bought this company. I really like it. It dropped 25%. I bought some more. It dropped some more. And I'm still holding. Yeah. Please ask me in 1 year how it does.
Yes, I will. I will
Or
come
10
back. I will come back to you on that. Yeah, but you feel like it's just an age thing, like as you go, or there's no significant thing that happened that shook your view.
Okay. Retail investors have been shown that, it has been shown that most retail investors don't make money, right? 70 or 80% lose money. So I think for me, it's age. Number two, it's also life stage. I used to look at the market every day, and if you trade the market, then you need to sleep at 4, right? I just don't have that type of luxury now. I look at the business. I think third is also understanding. For me, it's really a deep understanding about the businesses. I want to be a long-term value investor, and I don't want to be just a trader. Yeah, I don't think that. I know many friends who have made a lot of money from trading. I just don't think that I am smart enough to be one of them. Yeah.
Okay, fair. And so, do you think women have an advantage in value investing? There's a little bit of a discussion out there.
Yeah,
about
I think
this.
they are because women don't trade as much. And
Really?
yes.
Oh, tell me more.
Most.
Share more.
Okay, I think most women, right, they really buy and hold. And that's why for most women, their first investment, actually what women like to buy is property because it's tangible. They see it, they feel safe. And it's the same for me, right? The reason I got into investing and wealth management is because I wanted to buy a property. I wanted to buy a HDB flat for my parents. So I think for women, we tend to not trade as much. Well, first, maybe no time, and number two, no interest. So we just, not as aggressive lah. Okay, not me, but I think most women I know. So they literally buy and then they hold, you see. Whereas men tend to trade more, right? I think okay, if actually going on this a bit off tangent, but what is important in this actually is because most women, when we invest, we buy and hold, we don't care, right? And I think it revolves around conversation. Men tend to talk more about money and investments. So a lot of male conversation is like, hey, you got buy this so and so stocks or not? And then, hey, yeah, I buy this and make don't know what. And then there's a lot of trading in between because they want to capture that wins. Whereas I think for us, for most women, I won't say all, for most of us, we'll just be like, okay, I buy this, I'm just going to keep and see what happens in a while. Yeah.
Okay. So do you feel like there are certain things that women, like certain mindsets or certain things that women do that's predominant out there, about their personal finance that you feel like should be kind of shaken a little bit? Like we should reshape the view. Maybe risk adversity, we talk a little bit about this.
I think it's not risk averse, or I think it's more of the lack of confidence. I think a lot of women I know, and the smartest, most successful women I know, and I know a lot of them who will say things like, I just don't think I'm good enough. Or like in everything, right? It's not even in investment. And then I always look at them and I just think, if you're not good enough, then who's good enough, man? Like, seriously, you're like the smartest super people I know, right? Yeah. So I think for most women, it's an internal self-dialogue that we give ourselves, that we're just not good enough. Or we tend to doubt ourselves more, like, who am I to, So I think if you ask me, that's a very big thing that we need to address. And in generations to come, especially for the younger women, that they are good enough and they will make competent investors and they can be in control of their finances.
Okay, so what are some easy steps to get started? For
Make
all the
mistakes
ladies
lah.
that are listening in the house, it's like, oh yeah, I agree. I feel not confident. So how do I go about building that confidence? Also guys also, yeah.
I think the most important thing is to really find out what you're interested in, good in, and just do it. I mean, it's like saying, okay, today, if let's say I want to be a singer, right? I need to go and find out. I just need to take courses, and just try, right? And improve from there. So I think it's the same as investment. Okay, singing is such a bad, because I'm tone deaf, but
because I think a lot of people I think my neighbors should stop singing.
yeah, I know. Singing is bad, but but I think confidence. Okay, people don't have confidence because they don't try. Sometimes when you try, and even if you make mistake, you have the confidence of doing it. It's like cycling, I think. Yeah, maybe cycling is a better analogy. Yeah. So you cycle, you fall down, and then you learn again, and then finally one day you just manage to do it. Yeah. And muscle memory, right? Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, I have another reason. I think in terms of investing, women tend to attach reasons and meaning to it, right? And I think that's a very powerful tool. Because for me, when I first started, I was so obsessed with one financial goal, right? That everything else becomes secondary to me. Like, I used to save almost like, I think 80-90% of my pay.
Oh my God, you're like fire before fire.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just very obsessed in working hard, saving all my money. And because I was so consumed by the goal, right? So I mean, if going back, I was 21. My parents were, my mom was, my mom took on a credit card debt, 20K. And I was like, oh no, I'm the oldest, I have to pay it back. And then we were renting an apartment. This is '07. I don't know if you're old enough, but the rents were going higher and higher. It was during, markets were booming, right? And I was like, okay, I might get evicted from my home now. What do I do? And all I wanted was, I had this crazy dream of wanting to have a HDB flat for my family before I was 30. So 9 years, right? And then being young and stupid and naive, I Googled it and realized that, it's 500,000, How can I get 500,000 in 9 years, right? It's an astounding amount. Of course, didn't know you can take loan and all that. And so
okay, you're not alone, by the way. Huh? A lot of young people, when they look at the numbers, they didn't know can take mortgage loan, all these things they didn't know.
Yeah. So you see, so my question to that, right, is that why are we not taught about this in school? Why are we not, educated? I mean, there should be a module about this, right? And And I really asked myself, how can I, ordinary 21 years old, no talent, no special, I was a very average student, earn 500,000, right? It's even in decades, it's unimaginable. Yeah. So I did a simulation and I thought, if I earn 2005 for my first job and I project it, and then even if at the best savings interest rate is going to take me many, many years. Yeah. So I think that was the start of me crazily saving, and also that was a time where I realized very deeply that you need to make your money work for you. Otherwise, it's very difficult to find that, I guess, financial freedom that you're looking for.
Cool. And I don't think you have no talent. You can do simulation, do projections. So
This one is cool.
it's cool.
Find a smart guy to do it for you.
These days, there are a lot of websites that can do that, right? But looking back, I think you've tried a lot of stuff, right? So all the way from where you were, your story, until like now, you have all these different ventures under your belt. What is maybe one or two advice that you give all these ladies listening in the current situation of the landscape, right? We don't talk about in the past. Right? Currently, ladies just entering the workforce, or a few years into the workforce, what are some core advice that you think they should have? Don't need to be personal finance related.
I think, okay. I think it's very important for you to know what you want, because if you don't have a clear goal, you will never achieve whatever you want. Whether it's in terms of career, in terms of family, relationships, or even personal finance, right? So I think what people tend to do is they get sucked into the daily life that they don't have a clear goal, So that's one. You need to know what you want. The other advice I always have for myself since young is never complain and never explain. Yeah, because, so it's never complain and never explain, because a lot of times we tend to complain, but you have no idea how lucky we all are. Yesterday I had a dinner, and like one of the ladies were trying to rescue 160 women in Afghanistan who's fighting for their lives. These are university students who are fighting for their lives, right? And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, all my problems seem so insignificant when you think about it. So we are very, very lucky, and never explain. I think we live in a very digital world. We live in a world where it's so easy to say a careless thing about somebody else without consideration, and sometimes you get hurt.
Cancelled.
Yeah, it's so irresponsible, right? So I think you don't have to explain to yourself whether you want to save all your money or whether you want to spend. You don't have to explain yourself. Yeah, and you just have to do your best.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Hey Coconuts, I hope you learned something useful today and truly appreciate that you took time off to better your life with the Financial Coconut. Knowledge is that much more powerful and interesting when shared, debated and discussed. Join our community Telegram group, follow us on our socials, sign up for our weekly newsletter. Everything is in the description below, and if you love us and will help us grow, definitely share the podcast with your friends and on your socials. Subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Like, share, subscribe, blah blah blah. Also, if you have something interesting that you want us to go through, or someone interesting that you want us to interview, reach out to us at hello@thefinancialcoconut.com. With that, have a great day ahead. Stay tuned next week, and always remember, personal finance can be chill, clear, and sustainable for all.
Okay, so yes, we have 3 questions to wrap up the day. We ask every single guest these questions. So yes, feel free to answer however you feel it's suitable, right? So what is one core life principle that you hold closely to? Too many, huh?
Yeah, I was like,
it's okay, just pick one.
one.
Don't need the best one, just pick one that comes to you and you feel
Okay,
like
I think having a spirit of excellence.
Expand on this.
So it's going to be maybe a bit slightly controversial, but I think that most people are okay being, say, a 70, like it's okay being average or above average, but I think that everyone should have a spirit of excellence. And to have that, you need to find out what you're passionate about and what you care deeply about.
I think it's okay to have 30 also. In some things you are 30, you are 20, you are 10.
Of course it's okay.
Right,
I mean, I subscribe to that.
Yes,
but I think in a lot of things that matter, you need to have that spirit of excellence. And I think that has been lacking over the years. Yeah.
So you think people should strive for the maximum?
I mean, if that's what you want, yes.
Fair.
If that's what you want.
Cool. Good
You know,
stuff.
don't be a. I was going to say don't be a half fuck, but then I realized
You okay? We okay? Well,
no.
I
said
can keep
don't
it.
be a half as anything. I guess you know if you want you put if that is something that you are pursuing, then you know. I guess the other thing is that. Never mind. Continue. Yeah. No, I was thinking never complain, never explain is a principle, right?
Yeah,
But
it is great. Okay, so next, what is a personal finance advice that you feel needs to be further propagated? There are all these things out there. People are saying all sorts of stuff. So, from your perspective, what is one of the personal finance advice that you feel is like under discussed and should be further propagated?
I think knowing yourself is one thing that is hardly discussed. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's. I think people say it, but it's always a prelude to the main thing. But I think that again, like I said, investing is a great exercise of knowing yourself, your temperament, you know, of who you are, and that is something that people don't pay enough attention to.
So, what is one part of yourself that you feel you've paid extra attention and it has changed your life?
You mean in terms of investing?
In life, like I mean, you said temperament. You know, you also talk about how your patience have changed over time. You know, so what is this one thing that you feel like has you have changed and
So I think my biggest mistake in investing, right, is it's very stupid, but you know how people know things, but then they still do the stupid things that they are not supposed to do. So that's me.
it's okay, you're not alone. Eh?
You know how you're not supposed to hear hot tips and buy stocks? So I did that. And then the stock dropped. And then I buy some more. And then I bought some more. I think I bought a total of 4 times and lost a ton of money. Basically, a hot tip about how this fiberglass is going to be have a Apple contract, right? And it didn't happen. The company went bankrupt. So I think one of the greatest part where, while the losing money is very painful. I think it's also a great exercise of myself in knowing myself, in managing my emotions. Because when I lost this money, I felt a great deep sense of embarrassment and shame. You know, it's not only the money, but it's the embarrassment of like, why did I do this, right? And a shame because I knew I was not supposed to do it, and I thought that was a very good lesson in my journey later on in life, or even in I think entrepreneurship.
Yes, and I think all these stuff, you have to first put a vocabulary to it, right? You must first be able to recognize it.
Yes.
That you're embarrassed, you feel the shame, then you can work on it.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, and there are a lot of ways to go about working on it, right? So that
Like
is
what?
that's great thought.
Like going on air and having a therapy session with you, is it?
Yeah, some people say it feels like it. It feels like it. But anyway, yes, a shout out to all of you that wants to come on there. Right. So yeah, just drop your email.
Charge $1,000 per hour.
Yeah, good business. We can work on that. So yeah. So yes, last question, right? Which part of your life are you giving additional focus on now? Currently, yes.
I would say I think health and exercise and food. Yeah, because I realized that I used to be an athlete, so I used to run long distance and a bunch of sports. I used to be a soccer captain, and then I realized over the years I've just been very inactive. So I have been trying to focus on eating healthier, on exercising more. I just got my personal trainer certification.
Nice.
Yes, over the pandemic.
Wow, that's very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you've been working on Mrs. Pho, one of my
Yeah.
favorite pho places here. So yeah, shout out to Mrs. Pho. Okay,
Yay.
cool. Thank you.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Yay.